Hi, welcome to Flying Lessons. This is episode 4. I'm Melissa Whitkey. Thanks for joining me today. The title of our message today is What's Weighing You Down? We're going to start talking about the 4 forces of flight. And they are lift, drag, thrust, and weight. We're going to start with weight because there are things that are preventing you from flying. Have you ever thought about that? What's stopping you actually from fulfilling your destiny, from running after your dreams, for going after the one thing in your heart that's calling you? This is what we're here to talk about. This is what Flying Lessons is all about, is encouraging you to do and be all that you're here for. Again, we're here to serve other people with love, using our gifts. So we're going to start, this is what we're talking about, tapping into those gifts, tapping into that dream, and looking at everything that's stopping you. So as I started thinking about these 4 forces of flight, and I started thinking about weight, I started thinking about what weighs us down, what actually stops us most on our path. Certainly there's circumstances, there's things in our life that are hard, right? And things we have to deal with, things we have to address, things that can stop us, in the path that we're moving, that we want to move down, right? But here's one that I believe stops more people in their track than probably any others. And I had to confront this in my own life. They're the barriers we throw down in our own path. Have you thought about that? And you're probably thinking, what the heck are you talking about? As I had to do this in my own life, really be honest with myself. Is it really circumstances that have stopped me from pursuing my dreams? Or is it actions I'm taking to stop myself? Now, this may sound a little far out, so I'm going to share some questions with you that I had to confront in my own life to actually get to the place where I'm flying and soaring and doing what I really believe I'm called to do in life. And I'm going to share more about that on the way here in this discussion, because I think it's important to share examples in our own lives of what we're doing, what's worked, what we've had to walk through. So let me ask you a question. The first question I have for you is, do you lie to yourself? You're thinking, no, I don't lie to myself. I had to confront this in my own life. There was a time where I was saying to my husband, saying to God, and saying to other people the things that I wanted to do in my life. I would say them over and over again. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to do. This is what I believe I'm called to do. But I wasn't doing them. And God called me on it. I woke up one morning to these clear words where God had clearly said to me, Melissa, why are you lying to yourself? Now, if you've never heard from God, this may sound a little crazy, but I promise you, when you start having a relationship with God, you start hearing his voice. Not out loud, but you hear it clearly and you know it's his. I've had so many times where I've heard God's voice clearly in my life. But anyway, in this case, he was calling me on my own crap here, right? Let's be honest. Melissa, you're lying to yourself. You're telling yourself that you're going to do these things. You're telling other people that you're going to do them, yet you're not. Why? Again, when God calls you out on something, you have no choice but to really stop and pause and take a good hard look why you're not doing the things you say you're going to do, or you were telling him you were going to do. And again, I've said it over and over again. This is the foundation of my message. I believe that each and every one of us has a calling on our life from God, and we're supposed to use our gifts to serve the world with love. And if we're not doing that, he's going to keep calling. That's what I learned in my life. God never stops calling, by the way. Even if you choose never in your entire life to do what you're called to do, that calling will never stop. You may cover it up with different things. People cover it up with alcohol, with, all different things. They try to escape that calling in their heart. They try to cover it up, to pretend it doesn't exist, to push it down, but it's always there. So anyway, are you lying to yourself? I was saying I was going to do stuff and then I wasn't following through. And I had a million reasons why I wasn't following through. None of them were true. I was stopping myself. I was placing barriers in my own path. The only person that's going to stop you from being successful at life and doing what you believe you're meant to do is you. You're the only one that can stop you from being successful. Do you know that? You may be thinking, no, that's not true, Melissa. There's other people out there. No, you don't have to listen to them. You don't have to be held captive. We are blessed to live in a free country. There's more opportunity today than I think there has ever been with the internet and all of these different vehicles out there. And not to mention, whatever you need, God will give to you. So that's number one. Are you lying to yourself? I want you to get real, and I want you to really examine your life and ask yourself these hard questions. An area where people often lie to themselves is around exercise and eating right. I was looking on Google Trends the other day for a website I'm working on. And in Google Trends, you can look at what other people are searching for. And so one of the things that people search for on an hourly basis, because in Google Trends, you can search what's trending in the past hour. And then you can, certainly go further back. Weight loss, how to lose weight is constantly trending. It's really high up there. Why is that? People are not happy with their physical body. So why don't they do the things that they can do to change? Why don't people take control of their eating and have an exercise program? Now, I understand there's people out there who have physical limitations that it may not be that simple. But for a lot of us, it is that simple. And people tell me all the time, it's an area of my life that I work hard at. So people ask me a lot of times, Melissa, what do you do for exercise? What do you do to eat? And I oftentimes share that. Many times I share because I really am trying to help people. It's not an area of challenge for me because of the habits I've formed in my life. Believe me, I have other challenges. I'm, thankful that's not one of them. But that's an area of life that people kind of lie to themselves. They say they're going to do something. I'm going to work out every day and I'm going to eat right, and then they don't. Why do we lie to ourselves? Why do we do that? We're not fooling anyone. We're certainly not fooling our own brain, right? We're not fooling ourselves, and we're not fooling God. So I want you to start thinking about that. Are there areas in your life where you're lying to yourself? Because again, that's preventing you from flying. All right, next question. And I asked this in another video and it resonated with a lot of people, so I want to go a little bit deeper with it. Who would you be without your excuses? Have you ever thought of that? I had to examine that in my own life. And wow, was it enlightening when I really started writing down the excuses I was using. Because again, the only thing that's really stopping me is me. I want to do the things in my life that I believe God wants me to do. And the only thing really, if I'm honest with myself, that has held me back is me. I'm throwing barriers down in front of me all the time. Now, I'm not saying we don't have circumstances that come in our way. I've shared in one of my videos, losing my aunt and my dog and my dad in a 2-week period in March. This is still really a hard thing for me. And there were some other things in the past few months that have really been hard for me too. So circumstances will impact us. But what really stops us is our own unbelief. Our excuses that we tell ourselves that I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I don't have the resources, I don't have the time. Do any of those resonate? The one about not having enough time is one that I've used so many times in my life, and everyone around me that I know uses that one too. But the truth is, if we want to do something badly enough, we're going to do it. We're going to find the time. Successful people and unsuccessful people all have 24 hours in a day. It's how we use our time that matters. And I know in my own life, when I've been honest with myself, when I've said I didn't have time, it was really I wasn't believing enough to use my time in a productive way. So are you using excuses, and what are they? I suggest you start writing them down the way I did. Actually write them down, because when you see them on paper, you can't run from them anymore, and you can't justify them either. When you start being honest with yourself, you can't justify them. So that's my second question for you. And the third question is, what would you say if you couldn't complain? Oh my goodness, the amount of complaining we do as human beings. It's crazy when you start focusing on it. Oh my goodness, when I just looked at myself, again, another area of my life where I started writing down complaints, it's pretty embarrassing actually how much time we waste complaining about life. And let me tell you why it's important. Our words have power. The Bible teaches us that. Words are containers for power. I'm also a writer, so for me, words are everything. There's nothing I love more than taking words and arranging them in different ways to express meaning in different ways of things I want to communicate to others. So words are important to me, but more than that, words have power. The power to create, the power to inspire, the power to encourage. Words are really important. Yet we throw them out all the time in a way that's kind of lazy. In my mind, I've decided that those are lazy words. When I'm kind of throwing out words without thought, stereotypes are another area where we tend to throw things out without much thought. We just kind of repeat things. kind of in rote. Like we don't even really put much thought into it. I call those lazy words. And believe me, I'm just as guilty as everyone else in using those. But the amazing thing is when we start focusing, when we start having this awareness about, hey, I don't want to complain anymore. First of all, a couple things happen. Number one, you start censoring yourself finally, which is really important. But number two, you start hearing the people around you and how often they complain. At work, we use WebEx and Zoom for a lot of our meetings. And oftentimes when you're waiting for other people to get on, there's a conversation that ensues. And so much of the time, it's complaints about the weather or complaints about this, complaints about that. I'm just amazed now because, again, it's my focus now because I'm trying not to do it myself. But here's why complaining is also something we should try to eliminate from our lives. None of us know how long we're here for. We complain about the winter. Oh, I can't wait for summer. Oh, now we're in the summer and I can't wait. It's so hot. I can't wait for the fall. Or, it's the weather is a big one that we complain about, or the rain, or the traffic, or this and that. We kind of complain our way through our days and weeks and lives if we're not careful. And the thing is, none of us know how long we're here for. In the book of James, it talks about how people plan for, next year I'm going to do this, and without even knowing whether or not we're going to be here. Now, of course, we don't want to live our lives every day thinking, what if this is my last day, and worrying. But we want kind of this awareness that in each moment of life, we can have joy and peace and excitement and notice the blessings. The blessings. When we're complaining, it's the opposite of seeing our blessings around us. And I think we become kind of a culture of complainers. It's pretty bad. Do you like to be around people who are complaining? I don't. And oftentimes I've been that myself, probably way too much. So I apologize to everyone who knows me. And if I've done that around you, I'm sorry. I try really hard not to do it now. But again, why is it important with what we're talking about with flying lessons here? Because it's just another barrier on our path. Oh, I'm not going to do it today. The weather's bad and it's raining and I'm cold and I'm tired. I'm tired. How many times do we hear people say we're tired? We say it all the time to each other. We say it to ourselves. I'm trying to take that one out of my vocabulary. I'm trying to say, no, I have energy. And if I'm truly tired, I need to go to bed earlier. I need to take care of myself more. But take complaints out of your vocabulary. And then you start thinking, again, what would you say if you couldn't complain? You start saying the opposite. You start appreciating more. You start, believing in yourself more. There's so many more better things you can say than complaining, right? So many people, here's the other thing. Besides the weather, people complain about themselves an awful lot. And that's something I really want you to focus on. I want you to write down complaints. When you hear yourself saying negative things about yourself, write those down. And I want you to look at those, and I want you to go search the Bible and see what it says about you, because you're not going to find any of those negative things in the Bible. God created you. You're a miracle. Do you know that? Do you believe that? Part of flying lessons is believing that you're special and unique and beautiful, just as God intended you to be. Do you know that? I want everyone to know that. That's why I'm sitting here right now, because I want you to know that you're beautiful and perfect as God intended you to be, just as you are. Not when you lose weight, not once you have a best-selling book, not once you whatever external measures you have for yourself. Get rid of those too. That's an area of life that I really want you to get rid of. In order to fly, to do what God called you to do, you have to let go of the external measures of this world. The world doesn't know what you're here for. You do, and God does. And the rest of us need what you have. And we're waiting for you to fly and soar. And I want to see every one of you do that. But you've got to let go of other people's opinions, other people's measurements and judgments of you. It's huge. One of the things that I finally own is that I'm a writer. Now, I say that boldly. It took me many years to get here. Because when I've used that in the past and told people I'm a writer, the first thing they ask me is, are you published? As if that's the measurement, and if I'm not, I'm less than. I cannot even tell you how many times in my lifetime people have done that to me. And not just I'm using writing as an example, but they've done that for my entire life. And I'm sure you have that same experience. When you claim something, people want to measure you against someone who's done it better, longer, more recognized. You know what? I'm a writer because I write. You don't have to like my writing. You don't have to read my writing. You don't have to call me a writer. I know I am. It's who God made me to be. I don't need some New York Times bestseller list to justify who I am, and neither do you. It's one of the things that stops us from flying most is we're looking for some external measurement. We're looking for someone to believe and confirm that we are those who God tells us we are. You'll never get that from the world. This is the irony. The world has always done more to hold you back than to lift you. Think about it. Again, I'm a writer. I'm a writer because I write. I'm a writer because I love words. I'm a writer because it's a gift God has given me. What I do with it in this world and whether or not the world recognizes it is no longer my concern. And to fly in life, that's what you have to do too. You have to be willing to ignore what the world says about you and be who you know you are. Do it anyway. Be who you are. Fly, soar. Because once you do, see the crazy part about the world will say you're nothing until you are what it now values. And then once you're there, you're like, oh yeah, now we're supposed to revere who you are, right? But you didn't help me on the way up. You told me I was nothing on the way up. All successful people will tell you this, right? That's their story. I've read enough autobiographies and I've talked to enough successful people to know that as they were climbing that mountain, everyone was telling them they're nothing. You're not good enough. You'll never get there. I cannot even tell you the negative things people have said to me over my lifetime. But you know what? I no longer listen because at the end of my life, I'm going to stand before God and answer for my life. And so are you. And who's going to be with me when I answer for my life? Those are the people I'm going to listen to from now on. And they're exactly 0 other people because it's going to be me and God. And you know what? It always has been me and God. And it's always been you and God. That's the secret to life, understanding that God has always been with you. He'll always be with you. He's calling you. He knows your greatness more than anyone else on this planet. No one knows what you're capable of. God does. Listen to him. Don't listen to people. So again, what's weighing you down? Are you stopping yourself from flying, from soaring? I'm telling you, once you get up there, it's amazing. Yes, I've been up there. You may look at my life and say, wow, I don't think you're that successful, Melissa, but you know what? I know what it's like to soar, to fly, to have that peace that transcends understanding. It's amazing. It's about claiming who you are, about saying, you know what? I'm enough. I'm exactly who God said I was, and I'm going to find every gift inside of me, and I'm going to use it to serve other people with love. That's how you'll know you're successful. That's how you know you're soaring. That's what Flying Lessons is about. I hope this message was helpful to you. I hope you'll explore. Are you lying to yourself? Are you using excuses, and are you complaining? Take a look at those 3 areas of your life. Write them down. Evaluate them. See that they're all lies and let them go. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me.